Welcome to Verbal Pig Radio, where we give you a verbal image of life, and we are everyday people. Trump is in office. He's appointing his cabinet. He's putting Rudy Giuliani of Secretary of State, Mr. Stop and Frisk, hardcore Republican. He has Bannon on his cabinet. And Bannon wrote that white men are impartial as far as assessing situations, as though the black man is ruled by his emotions, like the narrative that they give towards women, that women are ruled by their emotions. They're saying that the black man is ruled by his emotions, so his judgment is clouded, so he can't assess a situation and give it balance, give it justice. They're saying that we can't look at a thing because what they put on us during slavery, that they're admitting now. They're admitting that they did a horrible, evil injustice to the black man in America, to where that we can't look at a thing. Our mind is so clouded that we can't look at something and give the right assessment. That we can't really think for ourselves. That we are feeble-minded. That the majority of us couldn't think our way out of a paper bag. So we need the great white daddy to come and govern for us, because we're like little children, and we'll fumble it, we'll mess it all up. But they don't tell you that false narrative had to be created to boost their ego, to make them feel as though they're gods, that they're bigger than the average black man, that they're the all to be all. Like, for instance, if they was the originator of all knowledge, like as if knowledge originated in the West and Europe. I mean, honestly, if you look at it, the person who still has a slave mind today, and the person who has the slave, and the person who thinks like they are the slave master, what you have here is a barrel of two psychotic individuals. They're fighting amongst themselves. A serious form of psychosis. One, the people that you enslave, the core base of all of your knowledge derives from them. And the people that had been in slavery learned their forefathers' knowledge from the person who stole it from the forefather. And then the person that enslaved the indigenous will tell the indigenous, you have a problem, You can't think for yourself. Why everybody comes to America? What's wrong with you? But he contradicts himself because he's written books dealing with the psychological effect that slavery had upon black people. And you can look that up, or you can check out Brother Umar. And now he's a therapist, and we will have a therapist tomorrow, November 16th, discussing on post-traumatic slave disorder at the Island Spice Grill. Now, these two, let's put it like this. From a perspective of a person that's, or people who have studied and figured out a great portion of it, because it's still more to uncover, will sit back and will have to say, this is a psychotic situation. You have one group of people who's stolen a group of people and stolen their knowledge, and turns around and keeps them away from their own knowledge, or their own knowledge of who they are. And then you have the people who stole, or the slave masters, who then pretends as if the knowledge was originated from them. And now the two have switched roles. But one, and that's the slave mind, has passed on that mentality through the next generation. And we can give credit to Willie Lynch. But what we're saying is, the slave-minded person who continues to pass on the slave narrative to its loved ones is committing an act of treason and potential murder, and the point of, you're leading them down a path where the outcome on a large percentage will ultimately lead to death. Now you may ask, why did I say that? Because knowledge is power. Knowledge helps you navigate through life, and it puts you in tune with life. So that's why you had Brother Farrakhan speaking upon the time and what must be done. But if you're continually passing on a slave-minded narrative that was given to you by an enemy, and why was he an enemy? Because he stood in the way of freedom for you, so that made him an enemy to your natural right to freedom and your natural right to know. He became a barricade, or he became an obstacle in the way or in the pursuit of your God-given rights, so that made him an enemy. So the slave master, which is the enemy, who deprived a man of knowledge, then turns around and points at him and says, hey, look at him. he does not know how to plot his own course. That's why you had James Brown who said, just open the door. I let myself in. I take care of the rest. Because doors wasn't being opened. So now you have, in this century, people who are getting a watered down version of the slave mind because Big Mama love her to death. But the knowledge, if you regurgitate knowledge that was given to you by your oppressor and you feed it to your children, then what you're doing is you creating stumbling blocks within them. Because they have to think along those lines in which you taught them, and those lines are totally against their salvation. The religion against the salvation. Christianity, the Christianity that was taught to black people by white people, not the Christianity that the Coptics had or the Gnostics. We not or what you would get at the Shrine of the Black Madonna. We're not talking about that Christianity. We're talking about Constantine's Christianity, where he saw a vision of a cross and him conquering the lands through bloodshed, and used that cross as his symbol, in which we conquered, and they conquered. And then they gave us, then they had to conquer, wear the cross around his neck, but really what you're doing is agreeing that I've been conquered. That's your tag. You tag. You've been conquered by the cross, put it around your neck. This is your symbolism of the rope around your neck. So then, if the adults pass on that slave narrative to the child, if someone comes and says, hey, this cross doesn't represent Jesus. Jesus never once said he was a Christian. It came 300 and some odd years after the death of Jesus. He never called himself a Christian. They'll get upset because this has been ingrained in my genetic coding from generation to generation. I was born believing that Jesus was white. They passed that on down. I was born believing that my ancestors was Christians. I was born believing that my start of my people's history began in America in bondage. I was born to believe that if you nice enough, white people will treat you right. I was born to believe that to be accepted by white people and to get their praise was the ultimate goal. That's psychotic. That's insanity. That means you need a healing. But you also was taught that anybody who comes teaching anything against what your slave master has taught your ancestors, and that has been passed down through generations, anyone who comes with a different type of teaching, they are the Antichrist. But in fact, that's not a bad thing. And don't get excited. Let me explain what I mean about that. The Antichrist is someone who will come and speak against the Jesus, the false Jesus that was created for black people to keep them in bondage or to keep them in servitude. The Antichrist will come and say, well, Jesus wasn't white. That's the first move. Wait, he wasn't white. He had hair like lamb's wool. And this picture that you saw it in Malcolm X movie. But this picture that you all put up, his hair is straight. That's not the description of the Jesus. The Jesus, whether you say Bethlehem or whether you say Nazareth, closer to the equator, skin wouldn't have been pale. Let's deal on that. So anybody who comes and says that, then you're the Antichrist to people who built their whole world on that false teaching that Jesus was white. If you come and say, you smack me on one cheek, I'ma smack you back, you're the Antichrist, because that goes against what the slave master taught you. If someone slap you on the cheek, you give them the other cheek. You are the Antichrist if you say, I'm cold, then I give my jacket to my brother or my wife or my children, or I'll keep my jacket for myself to stay warm. You are the Antichrist because the Christ that they gave you, you are supposed to take off your jacket and give it to your master. If you don't believe that slaves should honor their master, and you don't believe in slavery, then you are the Antichrist to the one who put that false narrative up, because that was the basis of his rule. That was his governing body. So if you going against and you don't believe in some of them tenets, because those tenets are the foundation to his rule, or the foundation to keep a people at bay or in a slave mind in order to rule over them. So if you go against any of those things that he put out for you to follow, and you rebelled against it, then to them you are the Antichrist. Hey, how you doing? Thanks a lot. Yeah, just had to stop and pay the toll. But yeah, you the Antichrist in their eyes. You speaking freedom, justice, and equality for black people, you the Antichrist. You talking about Black Lives Matter, and we not gonna take it anymore? You rebelling, you bucking the system. Now we get into the scared to death Negro. The scared to death Negro tell a person who puts their black fist in the sky proud, they'll look at him and say, you gonna get us killed. You gonna make suffering harder and worse than what it already is. Another form of psychosis, that's psychotic. You trying to tell me that you want to test your threshold of pain. You want to see how much pain you can take, or how much pain that they can inflict on you that you can endure. So you would sit there and take more. You would take more. You would take more. At what cost? To prove what point? To prove to your slave master that you can take a beating and keep on ticking. Basically, that's what you're saying. I can get kicked in my back. I can be discriminated against. I can have injustice served to me on a cold platter. I can be called out of my name. I can be treated like a boy and not like a man. I can be handled with kid gloves, disrespected, have my woman disrespected, and what more you got, throw it at me. Versus a man who says, I am a man. I refuse to be treated like a child. I refuse to be physically abused. I'm a man. I refuse to take on doctrines or certain types of knowledge that I know will be detrimental to my psyche, to my mind, if I digest this harmful narrative that was prescribed for me by a doctor who hated my guts. I'd be a fool to take that pill. The fool is the one who will harm himself because he's so afraid of upsetting his oppressor. That's the idiot. And then another thing on the topic of where you live. I mean, I'm hearing this, we got to clear this thing of neighborhoods up. Got to clear the neighborhoods up. One, a lot of black neighborhoods weren't even created by black people. Black people were relegated to certain parts of town to block them in. So if you figured that out and you had sense enough to get out of that that place that they set for you, you had sense enough to go, then you should be applauded. Not saying, you trying to move around white folk. Now, it might be different in different demographics, is what I'm saying. Now in Texas, it's flat and it's spread out. So if you wanna the country life, you can do that. You got that option. You want the city life, you can do that. You have that option. You got a lot of black cowboys on farms living and enjoying life that left the city to go to the country. Because what they're saying is, I can think better, I can function better out here in the country. How you gonna judge that and say you left the hood? You left the hood and got you about 5 acres and put a couple of horses or one cow. And can you point your finger at that person and say you left? What? Left what? Matter of fact, what did they leave? Did they leave a place where we owning all the stores and businesses? Did they leave a place where police just roll up in the community and just does whatever they feel to the people who tax dollars pays their salary? I mean, we are not an insane people. It's just that the people that we were in bondage to and was taught by was insane. So in our actuality, we're not the victims. No, the victim is the one who felt so low about himself that he had to come and conquer and enslave another people. That was that period. Now, when things reverse, both rise. Meaning, white people, you have to dig deep within yourself and build your own reality. You can't continue to keep black people deaf, dumb, and blind by purposely miseducating them so you can, not saying rob the lands, but control the lands and extract the goods from the lands, get the profit from the lands, but don't contribute anything back to the people that you took in things from. And that's why you have people demanding reparations. You can't use a people to create your wealth for yourself and then don't share in the profits or the rewards. And you think everything is going to be hunky-dory. It don't work like that. Or let's say now black people have to find a system to remove a 400-year engram passed down through genetics, DNA coding. Find a tool, a system, a science to remove that blockage. Now, several. Me personally, if Dianetics is the tool to free a person, then use the Dianetics. The hell, that's all it's about. Don't worry about the use the Dianetics if that is a tool that can remove 400 years of an engram that's been passed down from generation to generation through the DNA or the genetic coding. Use the science. Because it's not about, see, the problem is it's not about how people view you. Because you don't know where that knowledge is. It's about the vision, whatever the universe of God put on your heart to do, to pave a way for uprightness or a positive benefit. Move forward on that. Because, why? Well, you move forward on that because in the end, it will bring, its ultimate goal will bring you a reward that will be beneficial to the person who stepped out on faith and moved forward. Now, if people around you don't understand the move, that means either they haven't read what you read and you lay the books out, they haven't studied what you studied, or God revealed something to you that he didn't reveal to them. And he can do that too. So that's what that's about. You take that knowledge and you move on that knowledge. By doing that, you are freeing your other brothers and sisters. Because when you reach a destination and you keep climbing, you are living proof that things can be accomplished by headed this direction. Because you have to remember, back in slavery time, we only had one or two directions we could go, and that was through Christianity. Stay on the plantation, learn Christianity, be the best Christian you can. That way you can, that medicine will allow you to take the punishment. You can endure it a little longer. Or you take a chance and just ran away. And if they caught you, they beat you, killed you, whatever. But in your mind, you're saying, hell, it's better than being in bondage to a stranger, to this man. Now, on the Masfarah Muhammad and the Einstein debate, some say it actually took place, some say it didn't. But one thing I learned from that debate, when Masfarah Muhammad said, truth is always moving forward. Truth, the truth is ever changing. Truth is moving forward and discovering what you didn't know. But what you didn't know can stand on top of what you know, because what you know allows you to recognize what you don't know, or it allows you to recognize a piece of a puzzle that was missing. But you have to keep moving forward to get the forward truth. You go back in time and get a dead truth and try to resurrect it. Why? When the new and improved and true and a forward march that you discover is, let's say, fitting for this time. So look, y'all come out, Island Spice Grill, 17802 West New York, Houston, Texas, 77084. Come out, check us out. You're gonna have a good time. Therapist Jasmine Blue will be in the building. We're interviewing her on post-traumatic slave disorder. Make sure y'all be in the house. Gotta give a shout out to the Chill Factor. Shout out to my partner Low Key, L, Graphic. You know, the t-shirt company got all the designs you need. Check them out. It's definitely Verbal Pig Radio, and we're out.